Oh man, okay. You're aware of what he can do, so
that's like young Vince
keep
Carter.
doing it, young fella.
There you go.
Absolutely, that's how you make it.
Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'm alongside 8-time All-Star Vince Carter and NBA senior writer, host of The Low Post, Zach Lowe. Coming up, another impressive, important performance undone by a loss for James Harden. But should the former MVP be encouraged by the Rockets' start? We will discuss. First, though, plucky, feisty, spunky. If you're the Portland Trailblazers, you've heard all those descriptions over the years. And look, they're compliments, don't get me wrong. But the thing about Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum is that they aren't here to be anyone's cute little spoilers. They're here to win a championship, which is why when the Blazers had a rough preseason, it raised some eyebrows. It's why there was even more talk after Portland turned in a 20-point loss in its season opener, a game in which Lillard, gasp, went on a scoreless streak in the first half. Yes, Portland had dealt with a rash of COVID absences, but wasn't this the team that had one of the best off seasons in the NBA, with Yusuf Nurkic back at full strength, with Gary Trent Jr. blossoming and Robert Covington and Derrick Jones Jr. coming aboard? Questions piled up about why the Blazers weren't, better. It turns out that those questions were being asked internally, too. And what has happened since? Well, no one is winning a title in game 2 or 3 of the regular season. But it is hard to get where you want to go if you're not even walking down the right road. And Portland seems, at least finally, to have found its path. First, over the weekend, an overtime thriller against Houston, in which CJ and James Harden each dropped 44. It was hardly a statement win. The Rockets only had 9 players available due to their own COVID issues. But it sure felt noisy, especially when McCollum, who'd spent 4 days listening to his name come up in Harden trade reports, buried the game-winning 3 with 6 seconds on the clock. Afterward, he said, quote, "I know I'm nice," which is amazing. And then last night, a date with the defending champs, the team that had knocked the Blazers out of the bubble. With both LeBron and AD on the floor, this one was more of a real test. And despite some streaky play, the Blazers passed. Gary Trent Jr. was exceptional off the bench, hitting from everywhere to finish with 28. Nurk and Enes Kanter combined for 26 rebounds. And Damian Lillard just caught fire when he had to do moves like this on his way to a 31-point night. Yeah, you can check out the handles on the way to the and one. But the real story was the Blazers' defense, which had been the focal point of the front office this offseason. The Blazers have been trying a revised scheme, even bringing in ex-Bulls head coach Jim Boylan on a 3-week stint to help implement it. But for a while, it seemed to be making things worse, not better. Until it didn't. Whatever clicked for the team defensively in the second half of the Houston game was on full display against the Lakers, with Rocco all over the place, making steals, deflections, even making Anthony Davis look like a mere mortal as Davis finished the game with just 13 points. Meanwhile, Derrick Jones Jr., full airplane mode on LeBron, bounding in from the three-point line to give the Finals MVP a taste of one of his own signature moves. The Lakers had gone into the night 59-0 in games which they led after 3 quarters. That had been the 5th longest streak in NBA history, and the Blazers broke it. It was a well-rounded win in a shortened season where every win counts a little more than usual. Of course, only time will tell what wins like this mean. Is it one of those impressive sparks the Blazers have lit all the time over the past few years? You know, wins that make a team plucky? Or is it the beginning of a larger flame, one that really could burn down the whole league? So, Vince, do you think that this Blazers team can join the rank of title contender?
They put the right pieces around it. You have shooting, you have rebounding, you have airplane mode, who is their shot blocker. I think everybody is going to have to play at that level, elite level, all year long, all playoffs long, leading into it. I think Zach Collins, getting him back is going to be important. And also having Carmelo, because there's a guy who can get you a bucket when you need it, that demands attention and the double teams. You know, it's tough. The West is tough, and they're in a situation where if they play well and you have a good record, you're like, oh, they're playoff bound. And, you know, I think they just need to get in. And they're a scary team to beat because of their scoring. Gary Trent Jr., who's a rising star and another complimentary scorer, they have the ability, but we just have to. They have to stay healthy, and we'll see.
Right now, they're short of that, I think, but they're contenders to be contenders, and that's a good step for the Blazers. You have to put them behind Lakers, Clippers, and Nuggets after what Denver did in the bubble. You have to put them behind all those teams. In that next tier of teams, Utah, Dallas, Portland, I think Portland has the most to prove. Utah has a longer track record of being a good defensive team. Portland's defense was a disaster last season. As Vince said, Covington, Jones, the return of Zach Collins, they've got the tools there to be an average defense, maybe a slightly above average defense. We just have to see. And then Dallas has what you really want if you want to contend for a title, which is one of the apex predator wings. 6'7", sees every pass, can score from all over the floor, and that's, of course, Luka Doncic. It's just tough sledding in the playoffs when your two best scorers are small guards, and those guys are incredible. Dame is incredible, and CJ is nice. Just like he said, he's nice. He's got the deepest bag of tricks in the whole league. It's just they've got more to prove. They've got more to show us. But given their resources, given what they had to work with, they've put a pretty damn good team together. And all you can ask for in that situation is, are we one ankle injury from a rival? Are we one big break? Are we one trade away from being in the conference finals? And I think they can get in that conversation. But top-tier contenders, they're not there yet.
Yeah, but I will say this. I think adding Covington is going to be essential for them because they're going to need somebody. Like you said, to guard Luka Doncic. They're going to need somebody to guard LeBron. Some of these big Kawhi. Some of these big guards, these big scorers, and Covington, like you saw him guarding AD. He's going to be very important to their squad. He's going to have to stay healthy because I think, like you said, with the small guards, when you're seeing Luka trying to post those guys up, you can throw a Covington on him, and Covington can guard 1 through 4 and maybe some 5. So he's going to play an important role to that squad.
Let's switch over to Robert Covington's old team for a second here. James Harden, another explosive scoring game on Monday, scoring 34 points in 31 minutes. Harden's new teammate, Christian Wood, another 20-point game of his own. But the Nuggets won this decisively, guys. Houston 0-2 as they wait for John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins to rejoin the team. James spoke post-game on the process of his team's improvement. Take a listen.
Everything. You need practice. You need reps. You need to drill things. Just, we still them in our heads. So when we're out there on the games, we're not overthinking. We know where we're supposed to be defensively and offensively. And at that point, it's just execute.
So, Zach, James not tipping a lot in his public comments. Do you think that Harden should be encouraged by the Rockets' first 2 games, especially considering they're missing the guys that they are?
I mean, we haven't seen their real team yet, so it's hard to know, right? You mentioned all the guys that they are missing, but they're dead last in defense after 2 games. I know it's only 2 games, but they just haven't been competing on defense. They've had a lot of communication errors, and maybe it is just the jumbled personnel. But Denver just picked them apart last night, toyed with them, just absolutely toyed with them. That's discouraging, and I don't know how fixable that is. Do you see a really good defensive team in here? I personally don't, and their effort in the first 2 games has not been that great. But the one sign of encouragement is Christian Wood is a stud, and Christian Wood is the best pick-and-roll partner, the most versatile pick-and-roll partner James Harden has ever had, unless you count Kevin Durant, who's on a different universe. Christian Wood is that good, and if some of the supporting pieces come together, he and James is the centerpiece of an offense, that can be really dynamic and really hard to guard, but it just doesn't seem like they have the spirit right now. When you're last in defense, you're last in defense.
Yeah, point blank. Zach said it. When you're last in defense, you are. But, the one thing about it, you have DeMarcus Cousins coming back. You have John Wall. So they're impact players, guys who can make a difference, can help you offensively. Defensively, I don't know. But, for them, they're going to have to get out and run. And obviously, that's what John Wall can do and get up and down the court, get to the basket and transition and make plays. So defensively, it's going to be the question. They're going to have to outscore teams to win, which we've seen them do. James Harden has shown that he's in form and he's ready to go. It's just that's going to be the question all year. Christian Wood, let me just say, first of all, but is a great pickup for Houston. And hopefully it's something that is encouraging, that can keep James around and motivated for throughout the year.
Well, motivated certainly is part of the big question, right? When you're last in defense, as Zach notes, at least a component of that is effort, right? And it just speaks to the team spirit. And I'm not singling out any one player here. I'm talking about the entire team. Personally, it is my hope that James gives this team a little bit of a chance when John Wall and Boogie and some of their other guys come back, because this could be a really, really intriguing roster. And James has 2 years left on his contract, plus a player option, but the 2 years, so he does not have ultimate say of where he would be traded to. It's not a situation where he has just a few months left, so teams don't want to trade for him unless there's a guarantee that he'll sign a longer deal. He could get sent anywhere to a team that isn't as good as the team he has right now. So I hope some of that spirit, that motivation, can come in the next couple weeks, because it would be interesting to see this Rockets team as currently constituted to find out what they can do and who they can be. All right, coming up, no team has started hotter than the Atlanta Hawks, but can they sustain?
Action. It's a make or miss league.
Maybe a little more funny than that.
I don't know what am I make or missing? It's a make or miss league. Cut that.
Oh, Jimmy. Miss understatement. In addition to harassing Donovan Mitchell all night, Lou Dort dropped 26 points on 11 shots. Zach, this isn't Bubble Dort anymore. This is Lou in the big wide world. What do you think?
Look, if Lou Dort is going to shoot threes like this, put him in the Hall of Fame. Have you seen this guy play defense? I get tired watching him play defense. I don't even want that guy within 10 feet of me. If he starts making threes, shut it all down. The guy is a phenomenal defender, and he seems to like shooting threes. They almost hit the ceiling, but they were going in.
Go in.
Defense, I like this kid, man. He plays hard.
Absolutely. Make yakety sax time. The Nuggets and Rockets playing a basketball.
Yeah, we exasperating.
No,
we cut the clip short of Mike Malone calling the angriest time out of the season.
And there you go. All right, Miss Wi-Fi. Airplane mode was on a menace. He was just a menace on defense last night. First, the huge block on LeBron. We showed you this earlier. Then, though, a few minutes later, Cantor gets called for the foul, but again, Jones Jr. obliterating LeBron's shot. Vince, what is it like when you're a player used to doing pretty much whatever you want in the airspace above the net, and a young fellow keeps coming along to block you?
I tell you what, especially when you're like, oh man, easy too. And you can look at, if you look at LeBron's face on that first layup, he was like, oh, I got the bump. This is 2 points. And all of a sudden you see somebody swatting it. It's sometimes it kind of frustrates you.
Yeah. Zach, I'm not going to ask you what that feels
Sometimes.
like. I hope you're not offended.
I don't know. Unfamiliar.
Tell him, Zach.
Make aesthetics. Check out these new Hawks unis. Little throwback to the 80s and 90s. Zach, what's nicer to look at, though, the jerseys or Trey's handles?
I mean, the jerseys are nice. No more Volt Green or whatever BS they were screwing around with. No more feathers. Just nice Hawks colors. But Trae Young is averaging 34 a game, shooting the lights out, clowning people off the dribble. So Trae, as nice as those uniforms are, the answer is Trae Young.
Yeah, and of course they go to the new unis when I leave.
Exactly.
But it's all good.
They needed to have you in the throwbacks, Vince, because you actually played against the team
I'm
wearing
throwback.
them. Exactly.
Oh.
No, it's the truth. I can't argue with that. That's true.
Let's stick with the Hawks, who are 3-0 after last night. Trae Young leading all scorers, 29 points. Atlanta shot nearly 48% from three-point range. Home win over the Pistons. Vince, you played for this team just last season, right? So you know these guys better than anyone. Is this hot start sustainable?
Well, I'll start by saying this: 72-0 is still possible. Correct? You can't go 3-0. You can't win 72 games without going 3-0.
You're
So we'll start
absolutely
there.
right. Yep.
Exactly. So we'll start that. But no, seriously, one thing I'm enjoying seeing about this team is the growth of the young players. But one thing that has really stuck out for me is Trae is making the effort early. This is one thing we argued with all year last year. All year is that, hey, get your guys involved early to make the game easier for you, because we know he can start the game and go crazy and for 48 minutes dominate. But for him, it's like if you get these guys going and start and have guys like Kevin Herter shooting like he's shooting right now. Hunter playing like he's playing out of his mind. Cam Reddish giving him confidence. All these guys, and they start making shots. The game is a lot easier. Now you add Clint Capella for the lob, Collins for the lob. The game is spread out for you, and he's able to do the things that he's seeing, showing his handle, showing his range, showing his ability to pass. And it's been great to see, and I think that's been the success of this team is he's facilitating, getting guys easy shots, and then once they're rolling, he goes to work.
Are they going to be the greatest offense in NBA history? No. Are they going to shoot 70% on corner threes, which is what they're shooting right now? Not much longer. They're going to play some good teams soon. They'll come back to earth. But I said before the season, this is a legitimate problem on offense. This offense is going to be really, really good. Defensively, they have a lot of questions to answer, but they have a really nice mix of veterans and young guys. They have a lot of different kind of lineups they can use. They can go big. They can go more defense-oriented, more offense-oriented. We haven't even seen Danilo Gallinari yet this season. I think this team, absolute floor should be the 8th seed and so one of the favorite spots in the play-in tournament. That should be their floor. They are going to be that dynamic offensively. They have that many guys. And to Vince's point, Trey's been unbelievable. The two things I'm watching are how Capella and Collins fit on offense when they play together, and the development of Hunter and Reddish, who have gotten off to nice starts. They look more confident. They look more comfortable with the ball. If those guys pop a little bit, this team is all of a sudden really, really deep and potentially deep in two-way players.
Well, look, it was nice seeing Capella.
Exactly. That's what I was going to add to that.
Yeah, go ahead, Vince.
Sorry, that's what I was going to add to that, Zach, is that one thing about Cam Reddish, his defensive ability is unreal. I mean, he has great hands, great on-ball instincts, as well as DeAndre Hunter. So those are two guys that are great. Well, that has potential to be great two-way players. That's on the ball. And the wonderful thing about having Capella is you can funnel everything down to him. And you can gamble. And these guys, like I said, they already have great hands. So you funnel them down to Capella. You funnel them down to John Collins, who are shot blockers. Good things can happen because we already know once they get in transition, either they're getting a lob, layup, or three. Point blank.
Well, it's nice to see Capella and Rondo make their season debuts last night. Rondo, of course, his debut with the Hawks. And you're right, Vince, they are a more veteran team than the year when you were with them. But it is nice, even for a team that still has young players on it. You get that confidence from starting the season 3-0. Even if you do come back to earth in a lot of those statistical categories, you can build on that. And it's the way you want to start, better than 0-3, which we have seen around the league. Coming up, even though KD and Kyrie didn't play last night, the Nets have established a trend of playing them together this season. Should they keep that going or should they start doing staggering? We will discuss next on The Jump. Stick with us.
Really wants to as well because Wiseman is also setting the screen on his man, but he sees Joe Harris on the flare screen from Dinwiddie. He doesn't even hesitate. On time, on target, perfect pass for an easy layup. They know if they cut hard to the basket, Durant will find and make the right play for you to score.
Vince Carter breaking down tape of Kevin Durant. You kind of can't make that up. The new episode of Detail featuring KD exclusively on ESPN+. Welcome back to The Jump. Here with Vince. Why did you decide you wanted KD to be the star of this operation for you?
Well, first of all, it was an honor to do Details. We already know, the late, great Kobe Bryant did a great job with that. And to get the call and I was asked if I would be willing to do it, it was a no-brainer, first of all. And then they asked, hey, here's some options. And I was like, KD. And so I wanted to pick KD and to remind people how good KD is and his abilities in different areas of the floor. Not only just his 1-2 dribble pull up or hang dribbles or everything. I mean, I want you to see his footwork and everything that he has to offer. And I know everybody was watching. It's like, we're talking about a lot of other players around the league who are supposed to be the best players in the league. And I wanted people to remember that KD is also one of those guys.
I've said it on this show over and over in the last month. Don't sleep on Kevin Durant, people. He's Kevin Durant. Speaking of which, by the way, Steve Nash, his new coach, taken a very specific approach to handling Durant and his co-star Kyrie Irving's minutes this year. In the 3 games where they both were active, they played together for almost all of their 95 minutes. In fact, in those minutes together, they outscored opponents by 64 points. But when both have been on the bench, the Nets are a minus 23. So, Zach, a lot of teams try to stagger their stars. Do you think Nash taking this approach of playing them together could work long term?
I really like it. Again, you just nailed it. Staggering has been the sexy thing. You got to stagger them. Right. I think the Nets have taken a really long view to this whole season. How do we want to play when the games really matter in the playoffs? And the answer to that is we want those two guys together on the floor. And one of the great things about Kevin Durant, he is the most malleable superstar maybe in NBA history. He can play with other superstars. He can play on the ball, off the ball, post up.
Take away and diminish from each other because they both can't have the ball in their hands for enough time. You do need to stagger, right? You don't want your two stars to minimize each other. But when the fit is as good as Kyrie and KD, they don't minimize each other. They maximize each other, right? They exponentially improve what the other one can do. That's so valuable. But, Zach, you make such a good point with Spencer Dinwiddie. Do you expect the Nets to make a roster move now?
At some point, they probably will. The more interesting question to me is, how do they change their starting lineup? Do they promote Karis LeVert into the starting 5 and go all in around those 3 ball handlers? Do they try and keep him as their Manu Ginobili super 6-man and promote Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, Taurean Prince, somebody like that? My guess would be is they want to keep Karis on the bench. They like the vibe going there. But to me, the interesting question is how does it rejigger their rotation a little bit? We'll see in the next couple of days.
Yeah, and certainly that'll help them try out their options.
I agree. I hope, I know Steve, former teammate of mine, good friend. I hope he leaves LeVert on the bench and have him. You feature him that way. Yeah, I think he's going to become their third scorer. So let him have his time with this. With this style and the way you're playing, let him have his time with the second unit as the feature guy. And of course, sometimes you can play him with play the 3 of them together. But I think keep it this way. Go get somebody who can get you a bucket, who are ball handler, like a Jamal Crawford or someone who can score and get buckets with as well, and can be a ball handler.
Well, look, we certainly wish Spencer the best as he undergoes that surgery and recovery. Tough way to start a season. I know Hill will come through great, though. All right, let's switch gears and switch coasts. The Warriors offense had its ups and downs offensively to start the season. Held under 100 by the Nets and Bucks, but they broke out against the Bulls on Sunday. Unfortunately for Golden State, one of the new Warriors, Kelly Oubre, he's just been cold, guys. He's been cold. He's missing all 17 of his 3-pointers that he's took so far, not yet made a single shot outside the paint. Now, he clearly will not shoot that bad all season. He is Tsunami Poppy, and Draymond Green supposed to return this week. That will help as well. But Vince, with no Clay, a rookie center, 2 new wings in Oubre and Wiggins, how should the Warriors adjust their offense? This is not the Hamptons 5 days.
Well, Coach Kerr, to me, who's a champion and knows how to coach and manage players, I foresee him doing something like this. You put those 2 guys in situations where they're going downhill early, getting fouled, getting to the free throw line, seeing the ball go in, layups, backdoors, lobs, things like that, athletic plays. Those are 2 athletic players. Put them in that situation first. I think when players go to Golden State because of what they're known for is shooting the 3, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and a history of guys that's gone there, you feel like you, the player, has to shoot the 3 instead of be yourself and work your way into being the 3-point threat like they are. And I think those guys like Wiggins, he can shoot the 3, but he can get downhill and he's a mid-range player. Oubre, super athletic. Let those guys, encourage those guys to be those guys first and then work your way into the 3-point shot, especially right now when you're not playing well.
I guess this is the price of dynastic success because the Warriors go on a 2-game losing streak, telling Steve Kerr what he's supposed to do, scrap your offense, do this, do that. Like, can we just chill out a little bit? Draymond Green has not played 1 second yet. They're starting a rookie at center who basically didn't even play in college. Like, let's just dial it back for a minute. They should play fast, and they've committed to playing fast. They have a lot of long, athletic dudes. They're number 1 in the league in pace. And yes, they should probably reorient their beautiful game offense, redirect it a little bit toward more Steph pick and rolls. But Steph is never going to be James Harden. He's never going to be Damian Lillard. He's just not built to play 80 pick and rolls per game. I think you can definitely veer the offense more in that direction or blend their sort of ball movement, motion, screening, all that, which doesn't work as well without great shooters and great passers all over the place. Sort of blend it with more Steph pick and rolls. You know what that's going to take? Time. That's not easy to do in a second with a bunch of brand new guys who can't make an outside shot. And by the way, you want Steph to run a bunch of spread pick and rolls. This team has no spread. They don't have enough shooting. People are going to clog the lane on James Wiseman rolling to the rim. It's not that easy. Just give these guys a little time to get their players back and develop a system.
Zach, you say that as if the internet didn't have plenty of comment during the Warriors run. Of course they did. This team always and still under the microscope. All right, guys, coming up, we only have a week of games so far, but in 2 games this season. Jokic has 2 in 3 games, including, yes, that monster 18 assist triple-double last night. So, Vince, who you got here?
I can't pit Luka, so I'm going to go with Russ. I mean, Russ has already proven to us that he can average a triple-double. We know he can. We know he can do it. We know he wants to go out and show new life and do for his team. So I'm going to pick Russ on this one.
Yeah, the safe and boring answer is Russ. He's done it before. Jokic has never averaged more than 7.5 assists in any season, so he's got a long hill to climb to sort of get to the 10 mark. But, man, it would be so fun if Nikola Jokic chased the triple-double. The guy is the most watchable player in the NBA. The passes, he throws 10 passes a night that just have me laughing in front of my screen.
Much fun. All right, guys, the NBA.
And I'll say, I play with J. Kidd.
Oh, yes.
I play with J. Kidd. And watching J. Kidd pass, I mean, and just the way he puts the ball down there, it's just kudos to him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the NBA has named its Players of the Week. Domantas Sabonis and Brandon Ingram, both career highs of about 7 assists per game in the early going. So, Zach, who was making the bigger playmaking leap, Sabonis or Ingram?
I think both guys have been phenomenal. I think for playmaking, it's Ingram. Sabonis has always been a really good playmaking center. I just think he has the ball a little bit more. Guys have made more shots than in previous years. He's throwing basically the same passes he's always thrown, and he's incredible at it. And he's just killing people in the post, by the way. It's fun to watch. But Ingram is throwing more sophisticated passes in a more ball-dominant role. He's making both the easier passes right away to keep the offense moving and some of the harder, more sophisticated passes. His playmaking leap is super meaningful, and I think the hardest playmaking leap to make is sort of a lead ball handler from good to great. And I think he's showing he might be making that good to great leap as a playmaker, and if he is, that changes everything for the Pelicans.
Yeah, I pick Ingram as well, and I think it's just the progression. In the first couple of years in the NBA, you want to prove that you belong, and he's a scorer, so you want to prove that you can score with the best of the best. He made the All-Star game, so now he has a little swagger. He got a big payday, so swagger's there, so he's taking it to the next level. Scoring's going to be there now. Now he's showing the next step in the next piece to his puzzle to becoming a complete player, and that's his playmaking ability. So, yeah, we knew he was on the cusp of being a superstar. So payday, swagger, put those together. This is what you're getting.
Excellent. All right, let's talk rookies last of all. Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman were the top 2 picks, and as of right now, they're the top 2 leading scorers among rookies, too. So, Vince, who has had the more impressive rookie start, Wiseman or Edwards?
I mean, I have to go with Edwards, the number 1 pick. First of all, I read a tweet from Baron Davis, like, how many number 1 picks do you know that are not starting in NBA history? This guy has played.